A hush falls over the earth. It is a quiet unlike any other. It is the silence before a great breaking. Look toward Mount Hermon. The sky was once a perfect unbroken blue, but something has changed. Lights descended from their celestial home. They were not stars falling from their course. They were beings of great power. They were beings of light. These were the watchers, the holy angels. They left their appointed place in the heavens. They stepped down onto the world of men, a world they were only meant to observe from afar. They came down with purpose in their hearts. Their leader was Sem-Yazah. He gathered 200 of his brethren. He spoke of a plan. A pact was made upon that lonely mountain peak. They saw the daughters of men. They saw their beauty. They saw their grace. A desire grew within them, a desire for that which was not theirs to have. They chose to abandon their eternal station. They chose to take wives for themselves. They decided to cross the sacred boundary between heaven and earth, mixing the holy with the profane. This was a crime of immense proportions. It was a willful departure from the divine order. They were made of spirit. They were made of light. They were meant to serve. They were meant to watch. They were meant to guard. But they chose flesh over spirit. They chose fleeting passion over eternal duty. In doing so, they tore a hole in the fabric of creation itself. The law that keeps worlds separate was shattered by their choice. They acted not out of malice at first, but out of a deep and forbidden longing, and this longing would unleash a torrent of suffering upon the world below. The air on Mount Hermon grew heavy. A shadow began to fall, not from clouds, but from this single, momentous act of rebellion. The watchers bound themselves with oaths. They knew the gravity of their sin. They knew the price that might be paid, yet they proceeded. They descended from the mountain's peak into the valleys where humanity dwelled. They walked among mortals not as guardians. They walked among mortals as suitors. The first step of their great fall was complete. The world would never be the same again. One angel among them stood apart. His name was Azazel. Sem-Yazah led the pack to take wives. Azazel's transgression was unique. He taught the arts of war. He taught deception. He showed them how to forge swords. He showed them how to forge knives. He taught them to make shields. He taught them to make breastplates. He revealed secrets of metals from the earth. He showed women the art of adornment. He showed women makeup. He showed women enchanting stones. He taught them to make themselves beautiful, but for reasons of seduction and vanity, he corrupted the very soul of humanity with forbidden knowledge. As consequences grew, the watchers felt a prick of shame. They saw the chaos they had unleashed. They saw the violence and corruption spreading like a plague. In their fear, they sought to deflect their guilt. They needed someone to bear the weight of their collective crime, and so they pushed all the blame onto Azazel. He became the designated scapegoat. They pointed to him and said he led them all astray. They sought to cleanse their own hands by staining his. Yet their crime was a shared burden. They had all willingly descended from their high and holy place. They had all taken daughters of men as their wives. They had all broken the eternal covenant. Naming a scapegoat was another layer of their sin. It was a lie to hide from the truth of their own hearts. Azazel may have taught men to make weapons, but it was Sem-Yazah who led the oath. It was a conspiracy of heaven. All who participated were equally guilty. The teachings of the fallen watchers infected every part of human life. They taught incantation. They taught the cutting of roots. They revealed the secrets of the stars for divination. They planted strange and powerful cravings within the human heart. Men learned to hate with a new intensity. They learned to kill with cold efficiency. They learned witchcraft. They learned sorcery. A darkness once foreign now took root, watered by secrets of angels who had forsaken their trust. From these unholy unions, children were born, but these were no ordinary children. They were giants. They were called the Nephilim. Their size and strength were immense. At first, the people of the earth provided for them. They fed them and catered to their enormous appetites, but the giants grew, and their hunger was insatiable. They consumed all the acquisitions of men. When the food of humanity was not enough to fill them, they began to turn on the people themselves. They began to devour mankind. These giant children were not just large in body, they were monstrous in spirit. They used their incredible strength to rule, to dominate, and to inflict pain. They sinned against birds, beasts, reptiles, fish. They devoured one another's flesh and drank the blood. The world descended into a nightmare of violence and cannibalism, all orchestrated by the offspring of the Watchers. The earth cried out under the weight of their wickedness. The cries of the oppressed rose up to the gates of heaven, a testament to the horror that had been unleashed. But the story of these creatures did not end when their physical bodies perished. Their lives were a mixture of spirit and flesh, a hybrid abomination. When they died, their bodies returned to the earth, but their spirits could not ascend to heaven. They were trapped. They became the evil spirits, the unclean spirits that now roam the earth. They were disembodied, filled with the rage and hunger of their former lives. They became a plague of shadows, invisible but terribly real, forever bound to the world they once terrorized. These spirits had no need for bread or water. Their only hunger was to cause misery and harm. They became a source of endless torment for humanity. They haunted the wild places of the world. They brought sickness, madness, and sudden destruction. They drove men to fits of despair in lonely places. They whispered dark thoughts into the minds of the vulnerable. The quiet villages of men learned a new kind of fear, a fear of the unseen, a fear of the lingering, hateful souls of the giants. In the fullness of time, a man named Yahuah walked the lands of Galilee, Judea. He was different. He spoke with a power that the world had not known. The unseen world recognized him instantly. The unclean spirits, the children of the giants, met him and cried out in terror. They fell before him, shouting, "What have you to do with us, Yahuah, Son of the Most High God? Have you come here to torment us before the appointed time?" They knew who he was. They knew his authority, and they feared him with the primal terror. He did not argue with them. He did not debate. He simply commanded them, "Be silent and come out of him," he would say. And the spirits, shrieking and convulsing the bodies they inhabited, would obey. In one famous encounter near the sea, a man possessed by a legion of these spirits met him. They begged Yahuah not to send them into the abyss. They pleaded to be allowed to enter a nearby herd of pigs. He gave them permission. The spirits swarmed into the animals, and the entire herd rushed down a steep bank into the sea and drowned. The people who witnessed this were filled with awe and fear. They saw the raw power of heaven made manifest. They saw a man who could command the wild and terrifying spiritual forces that had plagued them for generations. Yahuah healed the sick and the broken. He cast out countless unclean spirits from those they tormented. He showed that the kingdom of heaven had come near. He demonstrated that the darkness unleashed by the Watchers was not absolute. A greater power had arrived, a light before which all shadows must eventually flee. His words brought freedom. Many who had been bound in chains, living among the tombs, cutting themselves with stones, were restored to their right minds. They sat at his feet, clothed and peaceful. Where he walked, the oppressive atmosphere created by these wild spirits lifted. The air became clean again. The dark forces that had held humanity captive for so long could not stand before the authority of his simple, powerful word. He was the living answer to the fall of the Watchers. The story, however, did not end with those miracles 2,000 years ago. The disembodied spirits of the Nephilim still roam the dry places of the earth. They restlessly seek a home, a body to inhabit. Yahuah himself gave a chilling warning about this. He said that when an unclean spirit goes out of a person, it wanders through arid places seeking rest. If it finds none, it says, "I will return to my house from which I came." If it finds the house swept clean but empty, it brings with it 7 other spirits more wicked than itself, and the final state of that person is worse than the first. This ancient story, from the fall on Mount Hermon to the confrontation in Galilee, is not just a myth. It is a key. It is a piece of a much larger design that God has been unfolding throughout history. He set a divine schedule for these truths to be understood. He planned for a final revelation in the last days. The secret sin sins of the Watchers, the true role of Azazel as the scapegoat, the terrifying origin of demons as the spirits of the giants. All of this was meant to come to light as a warning for the end times. We stand at a crossroads. The tale of the Watchers is a mirror for our own time. It shows what happens when beings of great power abandon their proper place. It reveals the catastrophic cost of choosing flesh over spirit, lust over duty. It exposes the timeless tactic of creating a scapegoat to hide a collective guilt. We can choose to walk in the light of this revealed truth, or we can be drawn into the same ancient deceptions, the same forbidden knowledge and carnal desires that the Watchers taught so long ago. Yet the final word is not one of doom, but one of hope. The story promises a final victory. Yahuah will return. He will not come as a humble teacher this time, but as a conquering king. He will bring ultimate justice. The fallen angels who are bound in chains will face their final judgment. The roaming spirits that cry out in fear now will meet a voice they cannot disobey and a power they cannot resist. The darkness that once fell from heaven will be utterly and finally undone by a light that can never be extinguished. Listen, will you stand in the light or in the shadow?